Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video here we successfully complete that JDStream authentication system, right? So here everything is great, and now if you click as a logout, then that will be logout. If you want to log in with the appropriate, if you put appropriate username and the password, now click as a login. So I have already saved it. So for the reasons actually it comes from our browser, my browser cache. Okay, so now you can see successfully I'm logging, which is totally fine, So now friend, in this video I want to create some of the API. Okay, we'll create some of the API and consume that API data in our front end. So let's start it with very basic one of the API. Like I want to create one of the visitor API. That means whatever the visitor will visit in our home page, that means in our front end e-commerce site, so this visitor IP address I want to take, and also I want to take that visitor time and the date. So this type of very basic one of the API first of all I want to create. Okay friends, so for doing this I want to do, so that is one of the backend related issues. So for the backend we'll use that Laravel. Okay, so for the backend we'll use that Laravel, and for the front end we'll use that React.js. So perfect. So now let's do that work. For doing this in fundamental, I hope you already know a little bit that Laravel, I have already created one of the section for the Laravel fundamental. I hope you complete this part very clearly. For the creating this API, this route will be needed, and for the web related everything we'll create all that route in here. So I will also do that work in here later, because we will create one of the custom admin panel. So from to the admin panel we will actually manage all that our front end, right? So that is our main structure for this project. Now first of all I want to create some of the model. Okay, I want to create one of the model. I have to create one of the controller, and also I have to create one of the migrations table. So if you go to that database, into the database there is a migration. First of all I want to create one of the migration, and in our API, and there is a model, we need that controller, right? I hope you already know about this part. So now let's do that work. For doing this, that is our project. So that is our project before I have already migrated, right? So now I want to better put it a little bit big size, then that will be helpful. Okay, so now that is our total things. So first of all I want to create one of the model, and also I want to create one of the migrations table at a time. So if you want to do that work, so that will be as a PHP artisan make, right? So PHP artisan make, and then model, and I want to create one of the model name as a visitor. Okay, visitor, and visitor, this type of one of the model I want to create, and also after that I want to create one of the migrations table at a time. So if you want to do that work, then we have to use that as a space and then the hyphen and then m. Okay, so that means it's now will be created two of this file. It will be created one of the model, and also it will be created one of the migrations table. Now if you click as a enter, okay, if you now click as a enter, you can see our model is successfully created and migrations table is also successfully created, which is totally fine. If you now go here, you can see the model folder, and by default they have one of the model as a user model, and now I have created another model as a visitor, right? And also if you go to the database, into the migrations, here I have also created another migrations table as a visitors table. Great. So for the visitor I want to take some of the field, like here first of all that will be one of the ID will be default, and here after this I also want to take which user will be visiting our site. I want to take this user IP address, this user visiting time, and then a visiting date. If you want to do that work, first of all I want to take one of the field name, I name it as a IP. Okay, IP address. I hope step by step you like it very much. Right now I have already completed that design, so now we'll actually go more deep. We'll create that API, we'll consume all that API data. So first of all our first field name as a IP address, I want to create another field name as a visitor time or visit time. Okay, visit underscore time. Okay, visit time, and then I want to create another one, another table field will be as a visit date. Okay, visit underscore date. Okay, so that will be as a visit date. Perfect. So that's all, that will be enough. I want to remove it. Everything is great. So IP address, visit time, visit date. Here I want to make every field as a string. So that will be our type will be as a string type, and then that will be also as a string type, also that will be as a string type. Great. And now we have to also make this all that field as a fieldable. So if you want to do that work, we have to work in our model. So that is our model. So into this model area, Better if you go to our user.php, here they have some of the fillable, so you can also do that work in different way. I will also show you that things. So now I copy it, and then in our visitor, after this I paste it. So that will be our fillable, our all that field. Our field means that is IP address, that is one of the field. Right now we don't need this, so that is one of the field. And also there is another one as a visit time, the visit time, and then the visit date. So I will use that visit date. Okay, so now I make all that field as a fillable, which is totally fine. Great. So after that I want to migrate this database table. If you want to migrate it, so that is our total project area. Into this project I want to run it again as a PHP artisan, and then migrate. Before I have migrate our default all the table, so now that will be our new table as a PHP artisan migrate. Click as a enter. Yeah, our migration is now successfully created. So now if you go to your database, into the database, now that should be another one. You can see there is another one as a visitor table, and into this visitor table I have created some of the field as a IP address, visit time, and then visit date. Great. So now I want to create another controller. If you want to create this controller like here I want to name it as a PHP artisan, and then make and then controller. And then I want to create another admin folder name. Into the admin area I want to create another controller as a visit. Okay, that will be as a visit or visitor controller. Okay, so that will be as a admin and the visitor controller. Better I want to make it into the same line. Okay, so there is a PHP artisan make controller admin, so it will be created one of the folder as a admin, and into this admin folder it will be created one of the controller as a visitor controller. So now if you click as a enter, you can see our controller created successful. Now if you go to your project, so into the controller, you can see it's now created one of the folder as a admin, and here it's created one of the controller name as a visitor controller. So into this visitor controller now I'm going to create one of the method for get this data. I want to do right now model will be not needed, and also here it will be not needed. Now if you go to that route, so as I told you friend, first of all we will create some of the API, right? So for the reasons in our route, into the route, that is our API, here we have to work. Now I want to make it as a clean. Okay, I clean it, and also we don't need this. I make it as a comment out with pressing that as a control and then slash. So here I want to make it as a hide. So here what exactly you have to do? First of all, I want to load our controller. So that is our controller namespace. Here we have to use it. I copy it. So after that will be as a use, and then in our app HTTP controllers, here I have created one of the folder as a admin, right? So that is our app HTTP controllers, the admin, and then I have created as a visitor controller. So that will be as a visitor controller. Here I want to do. There is a backslash and then the visitor controller. So I load our visitor controller. So this procedure is executed when Laravel 8 is launched. So before you for the Laravel 7 or for the Laravel 6, here we don't need to add this, but in Laravel 8 here we have to add it. Okay, so I simply add it, and then after this, so I hope you already complete that REST API fundamental. So now I think it's very clear to you. So I make it as one of the route. Okay, so that will be one of the route, and that will be one of the get method, because I want to get this data. So that is our get, and here I want to name it. Our name will be as a URL. So URL name it as a get visitor. Okay, so I name it as get visitor. After that here we have to load our controller. That means our controller name as a visitor controller. So I want to load it. So that is one of the class. And here our method name. Our method I want to do in our visitor controller. I want to create another method as a get. Okay, get visitor details. Okay, so this type of one of the method I want to create. I hope friend at that point it's very clear to you. So now we have to create this method. We have to create this method in our this visitor controller. So now go to our visitor controller. Here I want to create another method. Simple work. Here I want to name it as a public and then function, and then our method name as a get visitor details. So that is our method, and better I make it as a and method. So that is our and method in here. Okay, so that is our method. Perfect. First of all, I want to take our IP address. So if you want to take this IP address, they have by default one of the command we have to run. First of all, I take one of the variable as a IP underscore address. Okay, IP address, and then with our server, so dollar underscore server. Okay, so that is our dollar underscore server. Here I have to pass one of the variable. So this variable will be as a remote adder, so I name it as a remote. Okay, remote, and then the underscore adder. Okay, adder. Perfect. That will be as a remote adder. So with this we'll actually get that this user IP address, and then I want to also get that another field. I want to get that our visitor time and the visit date, right? So for getting the time and date, our allocation, that means our time zone, is also very important. For the reasons here right now, I want to make it as a date. Date time zone I want to set, so it depends on your time zone. Okay, so right now I'm going to make it as a default. Okay, you can see there is a default time zone get and then set. So now I want to set it. So I want to set it. Right now I'm from the Bangladesh, so here our name, our time zone name as Asia, and then Dhaka. So that is a time zone. Okay, so make that sure you use that time zone, or it depends on your time zone. Just simply added this time zone on here. So if you search in Google with the time zone, then automatically you will get your country time zone, and just simply added this time zone in here. Okay, friend. And after this I take another variable as a visit time. Okay, visit. So visit underscore time. And then for the visit time, that will be one of the date format. So here I want to use that date format. So that will be one of the time, right? Hour time. So that means I make it as a H with this hour if you want to display it, and then second, so it will be display the date also in here. Okay, so H and then I and then SA. Perfect. And then also another one is the visit date, right? I want to use that as a visit, as a dollar, and then visit, and then visit I make it as a date. So visit date, that will be also another date format. And to the date format area, here it will be as a, first of all it will be display the date, and then the month, and then the year. Okay, so that is actually format. Here we have to add it. Perfect. So here I get everything. Now I want to take another variable as a result. Okay, I take another variable as a result. Whatever the name actually you choose is totally fine. So now I want to insert this data. That means I want to insert this IP address data, visit time, the visit date, right? I want to insert it in our which place? I want to insert it in our this database table. So if you want to use it, first of all we have to load our model, because here I will use that Iluki and ORM. So for the Iluki and ORM, here we have to load that model. I have already created one of the model. If you go to that model, and that is our visitor, right? So that is our namespace. First of all, here we have to load it. That will be use, and then app models folder, and / our model name as a visitor. VISITOR. Make the sure spelling is correct. That is our visitor, right? So that is our visitor. Perfect. So right now we don't need this. So now with this model we are able to access our database table, our visitor database table. Okay, so now I want to do with this visitor, I want to insert this data, right? So that will be the insert method. Insert, I want to insert with the array. So with the array format, here I want to pass it. So that will be what? That will be first of all our database field name. Here our database field name as an IP address. I copy it. That will be the IP address. That will be as a visiting time. So here also better I want to copy it. Okay, I copy 3 of this in here. I copy it, and then paste it. So that is our IP address, the visit time, and then the visit date. Okay, so that will be as a visit date. So that will be the visit date. So our IP address means what? Our IP address, I have already take it, so that will be our IP address. So this IP address will be inserted in our this database table. Okay, so that is our database name, database table name as a visitor. Into this visitor, that is our IP address, one of the field. Here it will be inserted this data, right? So now there is a comma, and then our visit time will be our this visit time variable. Here I simply pass it, and then visit date will be as this one. I simply pass it. Perfect. Okay, perfect. So that's all. So now we need to return it. That means the return our this result. So when it will be the successful, by default that will be display one value, rather than it will be display as a 0 value. Okay, perfect. Here everything is look like great. Okay, everything is look like great. So now if you want to check it, everything is working or not, let's check this out. Click as a save all. So if you now want to access our this API, I want to check this API. Okay, as I told you, first of all we'll create this API, then we'll actually check this API. So now that is one of the get method, and that is our URL. If you want to check it, now go to our Postman. Into the Postman area, I want to load new one. So first of all we have to load our server, our Laravel server as a this one. I copy it, and then that will be as a this one as a HTTP, and now our port name. And after that, here we have to use that as a API. Okay, here we have to use that API because that is our API, and after that API, that will be our URL as a get visitor. So now I copy it, so that will be as a API, and then our get visitor. Okay, so that is a get visitor. So that will be one of the get method. So now if you want to check it, if everything okay, it should be display as a 1 value, because I have returned as a result. So with this return result, automatically when this data will be successful, it will be displayed as a 1 rather than it will be displayed as a 0. So now let's check this out. If you now click as a send, yes, you can see it's now displayed the 1. 1 means, as I told you, that means it's inserted this data successfully in our this database table. Okay, so now if you want to check it, click as a browse. You can see it's perfectly get that ID, IP address, the visit time, and visit date is also displayed in here. I hope, friend, it's very much clear to you. Here we manually check our API with the Postman. So with the Postman, when our this route, that means this URL, so into this URL I have already set up what? Into this URL I have already set up, or with this controller I have already created one of the method. Okay, so when you hit this URL, automatically it's executed our this method, it's redirected to our visitor controller. So it is a visitor controller, this method, this all functionality will be executed, right? For the reasons here, if you hit it again, yes, you can see there is a again successful, and if you go now, that should be inserted again another one. Yes, you can see there is another one is inserted successfully. That is our backend portion. So here we have created some of the APIs, and we test these APIs, right? That means we test this API. So now I want to include this part in our Foundin, that means in our this Foundin project. Okay, so into the Foundin project, and I want to do when any user will be comes, if you refresh this page, automatically it will be get this user, IP address, visiting time, everything will be successfully saved in our here. Okay, in our this visitor table. So how can do that work? In our next video, I will show you that things with the live example. So thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.